Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty Roundtable Radio Talk Show.
All right. Happy to have you along, my fellow Americans. Sam Bushman live on your radio. Hard-hitting news the networks refuse to use, no doubt, starts now. This, my fellow Americans, is the broadcast for April 29th of the year of our Lord 2025, hour 1 of 2, and the goal always to use the supreme law of the land, the Constitution of the United States of America, to use the checks and balances, to restore the republic and the traditions of our founding fathers. We reject revolution unless it's a Jesus revolution, then we're in, because we follow the Prince of Peace. Sheriff Richard Mack with me, founder and president of the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association, CSPOA.org. Become a member of the posse today. His goal is to help citizens and law enforcement work together. Yeah, we can have a partnership, if you will. And we can stand with our sheriffs and stand for the proper role of limited government. We got a lot of work to do, but it's possible. Welcome, Sheriff.
Well, thank you, Sam. It's great to be back with you this beautiful Tuesday morning.
All right. Everybody's talking about Trump's 100 days. Tomorrow is the deal. And so I want to just kind of give you my headline. Sad to say, here's the deal. Trump's first 100 days undermined by lack of checks and balances, derelict Congress, activist judges, dishonest media, with we the people, MIA. That's what you got, Sheriff. You got basically Congress undermining the president, the courts and the judges undermining the president, the media undermining the president, and the American people are simply checked out.
Yeah, I can't argue with it. I actually think that's pretty accurate. I think, as you and I have said before, that Trump is trying to fulfill the promises he made during the campaign. And, I mean, the idiotic Chuck Schumer saying that we've just been through 100 days of hell. Why has it been hell? Because they are so hypocritical and do anything and everything they can to undermine President Trump. They literally want to keep terrorists and international gangs in America without responding to the heinous crimes they've committed. Trump's trying to make our country safe and secure again, and of course, the Democrats call that pure hell.
There you have it. I find that interesting, though. And so I want to talk about each of these internal a little bit. So I think Trump has done his very best in the first 100 days. I do believe that it's kind of like the three-point shot in the basketball world. You live and die by the three-pointer. I think Donald Trump is living and dying by executive order as part of the problem. And I think Donald's made some horrible statement missteps and focused on some things that are missteps. But for the most part, I think he's done a lot of good. But Trump's first 100 days are undermined by lack of checks and balances. I mean, where are the checks and balances? The courts and the Congress, and the Congress isn't doing anything. The courts are shutting Donald down. The Congress sits by, does nothing. Derelict Congress, they're just simply not even involved. They're just busy doing, I don't even know what they're doing. No one really has a handle on what Congress is spending their time or days on. You call your congressman, they don't even know. They don't have any idea what's going on. Okay, activist judges that need to be impeached because they're just out of control and they think they're more powerful than the president. Dishonest media is reporting all kinds of propaganda with the American people simply missing in action. I mean, what has the average American person done to help Donald Trump carry out his initiatives and or bring America back to its constitutional founding? What has the average American done for that? And I submit to you virtually nothing. Nothing, Sheriff.
Yeah, and if you look at some of the other things, just some different avenues of everything you've just said, there's story after story after what has been going on with deportation and now the election in Canada. I don't know if you had that on your list, but it does not bode well for Trump.
Yeah, I have that on my list. We'll talk about it in detail.
But there's also a story here. Meet the insanely dangerous Somali Biden let free in Utah, now jailed thanks to Trump. And these are very dangerous people, international terrorists who have infiltrated America at will. And Sam, when this whole thing started with Biden at the border, I told you, and it's not like that's something really smart. I mean, you and I both knew that terrorists were now going to come into America, enter Latin America, and go through Mexico, get help from the cartels, and come into America. And hundreds of thousands of terrorists are now in America and getting driver's licenses and getting registered to vote and doing anything they want because there was no checks and balances on illegal immigration. And now Trump is trying to fix it. And of course, the Democrats are opposing the whole thing. Why? Because they oppose Republicans and Trump on everything, regardless if it's good for America.
Even things they claimed they were for before, they now claim they're against because it's Donald in the mix, right?
Of course. Yeah. Chuck Schumer, they've shown him saying other things just the opposite about how we had to be careful with immigration, and we got to really have a country of law and order. And he never said that while Biden was in there. And now, of course, if Trump is trying to clean up the country and make us safe and secure, of course the Democrats are going to oppose it. And this goes back to Washington's warning that a two-party system would be the bane of American liberty. And it is. Now, how would we ever make a two-party system illegal or make parties illegal? Because the parties are in control.
That's right. And then you have, to make matters worse, some say it's just the left-right wings of the same bird of prey, meaning it's become a uniparty. Yeah. And others are then saying, in my mind too, hey, these parties are just undermining everything that we're trying to do. And so I look at this and I go, let's start with the media for a second, because our buddies over at the Media Research Center, MRC, that's Brent Bozell and team, they've done a great job for years analyzing what happens in the media. So here, listen to these details, and then you can respond, Sheriff. This is very interesting. 92% of the three most popular news networks and their coverage of Donald Trump in 2025 have been negative, the Media Research Center has found. The study, which evaluated 899 news stories from the three most widely watched news services, CBS, NBC, and ABC, did not evaluate openly partisan sources. The 92% figure, they say, is up from 2017, when the negative coverage of Trump then was 89% in his first 100 days for 2017. So it's gone from 89% the first go-round to the second go-round to 92% with the same methodologies employed for the survey and the research of the stories. Think about that. You've got a duly elected president of the United States by literally more than 50% of the population, plus a landslide at the Electoral College. And you've got these mainstream media sources that have a 92% negative rating on 900 evaluated stories. This is what I mean. When we say, hey, Congress is undermining, the courts are undermining, the media is undermining, I mean, you've literally got a dishonest media here. Negative coverage for 92%. Is that even close to justified? And now, hey, MRC, Brent Bozell and crew has blown the whistle on this, Sheriff, highlighting the truth. It went from 89% the first go-round to 92% now.
That's pretty astonishing in and of itself, but again, it's not a surprise, and it's the media that's been lying and lying and lying. Unless you're raising taxes and unless you're giving more foreign aid to all the countries that hate us, and unless you're increasing entitlements for, quote, the poor people in America, then the media is going to go after you, and they're going to, it's Trump derangement syndrome, and it used to be that they tried to pretend to be fair, but they don't even try to pretend.
Oh, no.
brag about it, and they'll keep doing it.
Yes, they will. But, Trump is partly responsible for this. And I'll tell you why. Because Trump goes on all these mainstream news services that hate his guts. And he acts like he wants to go on there because he's not afraid of them. He'll take them on. But what Trump should be doing is promoting news services like ours and other, honest news reporting people. And Trump should be spending time with us, making us more popular and making them less popular. But he doesn't. So a lot of the problem is Trump's. When we get back, I'm going to give you a statement from Trump, interviewed by a liberal rag. This is just shocking, and I want to get your take on what he says. Hang tight. We're talking to Sheriff Richard Mack, CSPOA.org, on Liberty Roundtable Live.
The Foundation for Moral Law is a nonprofit legal foundation committed to protecting our unalienable right to publicly acknowledge God. The Foundation for Moral Law exists to restore the knowledge of God in law and government and to acknowledge and defend the truth that man is endowed with rights not by our fellow man, but by God. The foundation maintains a twofold focus. First, litigation within state and federal courts. Second, education. Conducting seminars to teach the necessity and importance of acknowledging God in law and government. How can you help? Please make a tax-deductible contribution, allowing foundation attorneys to continue the fight. You may also purchase various foundation products as well at morallaw.org. Located in Montgomery, Alabama, the Foundation for Moral Law is a nonprofit, tax-exempt 501c3 founded by Judge Roy Moore. Please partner with us to achieve this important mission. morallaw.org.
Do you treasure your liberty? Well, at lovingliberty.net, we most certainly do. And we want to help protect your liberty too. Become part of the family. Everyone knows that the core of any society is the family. Therefore, the government should foster and protect the integrity of its family, we the people. Won't you join us as a Loving Liberty sponsor to help us promote the principles in the 5,000-year leap? Let's restore the miracle that changed the world at lovingliberty.net.
As you are aware, America is divided over every fault line possible. This is intentionally fostered by those who do not love God, family, or country. We believe a peaceful future as a free people absolutely depends on civility. Clarion Call for Civility is looking for funding and volunteers at every level to make our hopes and efforts a reality. Please donate, sign our pledge, and help us in our sacred cause. Please visit callforcivility.com for more details. callforcivility.com.
All right, back with you live, ladies and gentlemen. Sam Bushman and the good Sheriff Richard Mack on your radio. So, Trump's first 100 days, I submit, ladies and gentlemen, have been absolutely undermined by the lack of checks and balances in America. We got a derelict Congress not even doing their job. The president and the courts are taking all kinds of authority under themselves that are really congressional responsibilities. They need to reclaim that, but they're derelict in their duty, so it's not happening. No checks and balances. Congress sits idly by. Each Congress member comes in poor as a church mouse, leaves rich as all get out. They're just derelict in their duty. You got activist judges that need to be impeached. They're out of control. You've got a dishonest media that I've highlighted with the MRC report. 92% negative stories from the top 3 popular news services. So dishonest media big time. You've got we the people missing in action. And then you've got Donald Trump making stupid statements on top of it all and focusing on some of the wrong issues. I know he loves to just stir it up. But listen, here he goes on liberal news organizations trying to show that he's not afraid of them. But why doesn't he come on real news organizations and have candid conversations with educators and constitutionalists and truth tellers? And okay, he should do that and make us popular and make these mainstream press clowns unpopular, but he doesn't. He rewards them and he spends his time with them and he loves it and he loves their praise and their adoration. Problem is they might praise him, but everything they do is negative. 92% negative coverage of the Donald, up from 89% first go-round. But here's President Trump's statement to a liberal rag. Let's see. I run the country and the world, Donald Trump says in an Atlantic interview reported by USA Today, Sheriff. What do you mean the United States president saying I run the country and the world? Is that something you ought to be saying as president?
probably
First off, you
not.
you don't run the world. First off, you're elected to represent the United States of America and nothing more. And sadly, that's 300 million, maybe 350 million of what, 8 billion people on the planet or something. You don't run the world, not even close. Okay, right. Most of the world never elected you, and you don't run them at all. First of all, secondly, when you say you run the country, no, you don't. You've got 1/3 of running the country. If you talk about the general government's limited powers, if you talk about the states, they should have way more authority and power than the general government in the first place. So you're not even close to run the world. You have 1/3 of the general government, which is supposed to be very narrow in scope and very constitutional and enumerated in its list. The broad powers go to the states and the people respectively. You're not even close to even run the United States, really.
It looks like to me, though, if he's saying what I do has a huge impact on the world, that could be true.
Amen. 100%.
The economy. But no, he doesn't. I mean, he doesn't run the world. Obviously, he is very disappointed about who got elected in Canada. But at the same time, the conservatives started bashing Trump, and then he lost a 30-point lead. So it's all pretty stupid.
And the problem is these statements that I'm talking about. So statement number 1, I run the country and the world. First off, why are you spending your time with the Atlantic in the first place? A liberal whacked out rag.
And he had to know that statement was going to draw a lot of ire and criticism, and it doesn't bother me personally too much, but it was so unnecessary.
No, but it's unnecessary. It's triggering. No wonder the liberals go crazy, right?
Right, yeah.
It's like you beating Bill Clinton to the Supreme Court and then saying, hey, I run the world. I'm even more powerful than Bill. The court's proved it.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, it's just a clown.
Right now, it looks like the judges are running the world because most of them are running him.
Well, see, and that's my point, is that statements like that are never, ever helpful. And so spending your time on a liberal rag like the Atlantic and then making a statement like that, I mean, you're just buying trouble is all I'm telling you. You're not doing any good. Now, it gets worse because then the next headline says Trump looms over Canada elections. Now, look, what if we said, hey, man, Vladimir Putin looms over the United States elections, or I don't care what country, hey, that leader, looms over United States elections. Everybody would be going crazy unaccepting of that. Again, these statements just create a dictator out of Trump, which I don't really believe is true, but he falls into the narrative. Rubio now reiterates Trump's view that Canada would be better off as the 51st state of the United States. Now, here's my point. I don't care if Canada would be better off or not. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. I care about what's better off for the American people. I'm not interested in debating, lording over, working with Canada in that kind of a way. Why do we need to lord over Canada's elections? Why do we need to keep talking about this 51st state deal? Can't the Canadians be self-determining?
We would hope so.
Not according to Trump.
Yeah.
I run the world, and Canada should be the 51st state,
That's
dude.
Yeah. From the get-go, I thought that was almost plain silly. You're silly.
You can say it's silly. The problem is it has these repercussions, and no wonder the Democrats and the liberals and the enemies of freedom are so crazy because we fuel their fire.
Yeah.
If you started saying, hey, you know what, I think it would be great if the Canadians became the 51st state. However, I support their right of self-determination. But here's why I think it would be better. And you had a candid, honest discussion, and he really had evidence and anecdotes and logic that could, really lay that out. Yeah. By all means, tell the story. I'm not against making the claim. It's how you make the claim.
Right.
And when you say that, hey, Trump looms over Canada elections, no one would want that happening to us. Why would we want it to happen to our northern neighbors? I mean, you loom over their elections and then say they'd be better off being the 51st state? I don't get it. It just doesn't work. All right? Anyway, so those are just some of the things that Trump does. Same thing with kind of Greenland, or same thing with the Panama Canal. I mean, he was like, hey, we're taking back the Panama Canal. These clowns are crazy. Communist Chinese are running it. Well, then all of a sudden it was a flash in the pan in the news, and now what have you seen? Nothing. You haven't heard a word about it in weeks, right?
Correct.
Okay, so what happened? Nothing. It was just a big old battle, loose lips sink ships scenario. Nothing happened of any value. Why even bring all that up if you're not going to do anything?
Yeah.
Oh, I sent my buddies down there and they looked at it. Okay. I wrote an executive order about it. Okay. But at some point, you derail more than you help. Let's talk about immigration, as you pointed out a minute ago. DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, is touting deportations. The problem is experts claim that the numbers simply don't add up. Now, this is USA Today, and I get that they're a liberal rag, but the administration claims that they have deported 139,000 immigrants in 100 days. But experts say the numbers just don't add up. It's not true. Now, you can debate who you want to, is it true? Tom says the numbers are good. All the experts say we can't see where the numbers come from. They asked the White House for clarification. The White House doesn't have any clarification. It's more like, just trust us. We know what we're talking about. But even 139,000, if that number was true, isn't even close to enough. They claim that it's more like 57,000. But here's the real deal. I guess Donald Trump has now put out a goal. So to meet President Donald Trump's goal of deporting 1 million people per year, the administration would have to have sent more than 100,000 people packing in the first 100 days. Experts say they haven't been close to doing so. Now, 1 million per year, that to me isn't that impressive, Sheriff.
Not when you have 30 million here.
Right.
And might more than that, but
it'll take 30 years if you meet your goal every single year while somebody else is president. You'll never even come close to get it done. So that means at the most he's talking about deporting 4 million people in his presidency if he gets it all done according to his plan.
Well, and yeah, but I would say this from a law enforcement perspective. If he's deporting the worst of the worst, and they're actually raiding the areas where the terrorists and Tren de Aragua and does everybody know what Aragua is? Aragua is a state in Venezuela. It's like the Sinaloa cartel. I mean, Sinaloa is an area or state in Mexico. So at first I thought it was Tren de Agua, but it was Tren de Aragua, and Aragua is just a state, so it's not a subversive name or anything. It's just showing some loyalty and patriotism towards the area they live in or a state they live in, and that's probably where they were formed. But all of these cartels, the gangs, and the terrorists, if they're focusing and getting them out, like those two in Utah that I just mentioned, they are terrorists, and they're very dangerous people here. And if they're
so you're saying if they get the worst of the worst gone, it's a good thing. And I agree 100%. I agree 1,000%. But it's not at all what they ran on or what they claimed they were going to do. They didn't say we're going to get rid of the worst of the worst. If they said that, I would agree. But they didn't say any of that. They used this fear tactic that said, if you're Joe Blow and you were brought here when you were 4, and you don't have any criminal activity, and you're a good guy, and you have a family here, and your kids and your wife are citizens, but you're not for whatever reason because you're a DACA kid, hey, you're subject to getting kicked out just as much as the murdering thug, right? Well, with those kind of statements, though, I'm not okay with turning it to, well, they're getting rid of the worst of the worst. That's good, and I support it, but it isn't what we were told. That's the problem. And so it gets worse. Because 1 million per year, what if we get half that in the next 4 years? We only get rid of 2 million people, Sheriff?
Well, they're still going to be here voting.
All right, hang tight. We've got more to talk about. Tom Holman's in the news. They're debating clown shows and individual cases that are a waste of time. And I don't know why they do that. We'll talk about it. The mainstream press, the evil, dishonest press, has these people in the palm of their hand, and I'll prove it to you. Hang tight. You're listening to the one and only Liberty Roundtable Live.
Your daily Liberty Newswire. You're listening to Liberty News Radio.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. It has been a whirlwind 100 days in office for President Trump, and he'll mark that milestone this evening with a rally in Michigan.
The president returns to a key battleground state to celebrate his second administration's early achievements. He'll visit Warren, Michigan, and Macomb County, just north of downtown Detroit. White House officials say the president has delivered on his campaign promises, from securing the border to removing the government's diversity programs. Greg Clugston, the White House.
Canadian voters have given the governing Liberal Party a fourth consecutive term. Former central banker Mark Carney will be staying on as the Canadian Prime Minister. An Ivy League school is accused of violating laws that guarantee women equal opportunity in athletics.
The Trump administration says the University of Pennsylvania illegally denied women equal opportunities by letting a transgender swimmer compete on the school's women's team and into team facilities. The administration's statement Monday doesn't name Leah Thomas, the transgender swimmer who last competed for the Ivy League school in 2022, but the investigation opened in February by the U.S. Education Department focused on Thomas, who became a leading symbol of transgender athletes and a prominent political target. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
The lights are back on across most of Spain and Portugal, while questions persist over what caused one of Europe's most severe blackouts in recent memory. They range in age from 4 to 18 years. Those who were killed when a car rammed into a building that was hosting an after-school program in Chatham, Illinois, near Springfield. And severe storms have done a lot of damage across parts of the upper Midwest. Watching Wall Street this morning, right now, the Dow trading about 105 points higher. More on these stories at townhall.com.
3 years ago, I wrapped up a run of Annie playing Daddy Warbucks with the South Carolina Children's Theater. I was about 40, 50 pounds overweight, tired, sick, fed up with the way I felt. Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. I had to do something. I scheduled my weight loss consultation with PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition. And as they say, the rest is history. Just a few months, I lost over 50 pounds. I took control of my health. 3 years later, I've kept the weight off and I feel better than ever. If you are where I was, do what I did. Call PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition. It'll change your life. It's fast and simple. They won't let you fail. Just give them a call at 855-696-2020 to schedule your weight loss consultation. That's 855-696-2020. 855-696-2020. Here's the best part. First 11 callers who mention the keyword healthy will get 2 free weeks added to their weight loss package. Don't wait. Call today. 855-696-2020. Mention healthy to get 2 free weeks, or visit them at myphdweightloss.com, myphdweightloss.com.
Bypass the mainstream narrative with Liberty News Radio at libertynewsradio.com. Engage with charismatic hosts live or on demand. We cover the crucial news focused on God, family, and country. News that other networks simply refuse to use. Think of LNR's hard-hitting news and podcast at your fingertips, anytime, anywhere. Join us at libertynewsradio.com. Empower your day with the truth, because the truth will set you free. libertynewsradio.com.
Introducing Managed IT Services from NPI. We offer top-notch data backup and recovery, email spam protection, and network security tailored to your needs and budget. With 20-plus years of experience in the medical field, our HIPAA-certified consultants know what it takes to protect sensitive information. Don't settle for less. Give us a call at 801-706-6980 and experience the difference with Managed IT Services. Remember, your IT support should be fast, efficient, and reliable.
Your call is being transferred to the listening ear. Listening professionals dedicated to hearing you.
Hello, listening ear. Who am I listening to?
Carrie, but I was calling my mom.
Yes, you were, but your mom was so busy she felt it was important for you to have someone who could completely focus on listening to you and you alone. So she subscribed to our service. Go ahead, I'm listening.
Well, I'm not quite sure.
Where to start? Well, I can listen to school issues like science projects. I can listen to boy problems, although that's an extra $3 per call because of the emotional drain on me. How about we start with how you wish you had made cheerleader?
I didn't try out for cheerleader.
This isn't, Mary?
Carrie. I'm Carrie.
Oh, sorry.
There is no substitute for a loving parent. And when you really listen, love is what they'll hear. From the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. For more tips on strengthening your family, visit family.mormon.org.
Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty Roundtable Radio Talk Show.
I get that Donald Trump has done his best, but he's been swamped by the deep state. The courts are against him. Congress is against him. The people are missing in action. The media is against him. And his own rhetoric betrays him. He's set the bar so high that he'll never make it. So when you say to me, Sam, I've deported 139,000 illegals in the first 100 days, that's good. But the experts are saying it's at best half that. More like 57,000. And if you look at President Trump's goal of deporting 1 million people a year, you're not even close. And even if you do deport a million people a year, is it going to be sustained for all 4 years of his presidency? Remember, you know what? Congress is going to probably lose a bunch of Republican support in the next election cycle because they've done nothing. Okay, they've betrayed the president. They've betrayed the people. They've virtually done nothing. So I doubt we'll even deport 4 million people by the time President Trump, is out of office. Now, here's the interesting thing. If Trump deports, say, half that, 2 million people. Now, I get that if it's the right people, meaning the criminals and the bad guys, 2 million less criminals is a great thing. And I get that, hey, he's making the best effort he can against all kinds of hostile enemies, sanctuary cities and mayors and governors, and I get all that. But at the end of the day, if we deported 2 million people by the end of his presidency, would you call it a success, Sheriff?
I'm still, my jury is still out on this. And the reason why is because look what they did to him the first term.
Doesn't matter. We're talking about his claims and what he said he would do.
No, it does matter. Because I said this when he won this time. They will try and do everything to get in his way. You already have mentioned the international media that has gone after him. Yes, he's made some mistakes talking to him the way he has. He loves to rile him up, and that's why he's probably made some of those comments. But yeah, he spends too much time with him, and he knows every time he talks to him that they're going to blast him and make whatever he says look bad, no matter what he says. And if there is constant interference,
why not go and spend your time with people that will make you look good?
I know and he never has done that, and so none of us should be surprised that he doesn't. But I wish he would. I mean, I really wish that he would spend more time with the ones that are really trying to tell the truth. And it wouldn't be
like
hard.
The Joe Rogan interview was a great example of doing that, and look how well it went.
Yeah, true, very true. And if he would do a list and go and start going through those, but of course, he just had the National Sheriff's Association, some of those guys at his office, and acting like the National Sheriff's Association acting like they've really backed him and backed conservative causes. And as the National Sheriff's Association called for the sheriffs to be involved in deportation, no, they are so tied. No, I know they do. We've done more there than the NSA has, and they have 50,000 members. And so no. But if there's constant, like now, this idiot Democrat from Michigan, Rep. Sri Sanadar, a native of India, I don't care where he's a native of, flew back from yet another unwarranted congressional vacation, and now he's filed 7 articles of impeachment against President Trump.
Yeah, you want to know why? Because the Democrats actually do what they say they're going to do, and the Republicans don't. We never even came close to impeaching Biden.
Well, yeah, but we're not surprised. And look at and I do go back to the history. They impeached Trump when he wasn't even in office for the second time. This is how idiotic.
But that's how serious they are.
Idiotic. Yeah, it's a waste of time. It's stupid.
Well, you could say it's a waste of time, but they got a black mark on the Donald. I mean, Donald can't even own a gun, can he?
Yeah, probably not.
Hold on, isn't the president a felon?
Yes, he is.
So he cannot own a gun, can he?
He cannot.
All right, so the president of the United States cannot own a gun based on these extremists and their agenda. He's been impeached multiple times, making history as the most impeached president in history, right?
That's what they wanted.
And they're working to do it again. So, in a way it's stupid, but in a way they move the needle. They move the chains, if you will, if you're going to compare to a football game.
That's my point, Sam.
We don't.
That's my point, is that they're always going to get in his way. They're always going to put up the blocks. And so not all of this is his fault. He should have been getting more help from sheriffs. And the sheriffs are afraid to get involved in anything that is the least bit controversial. And so, there you go. It's just going to keep going. And
all right. And instead of talking about the big picture and proving the numbers of how many people have been deported, here's what we're arguing about in the press. You ready? Tom Homan, U.S. did not deport 3 citizen children. Controversy surrounds the fate of young American citizens sent to Honduras with their mothers. And so the mainstream press lies and says, hey, man, Trump just deported a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 7-year-old, citizen children to Honduras. Shame on Donald. And then Tom's like, no, that's not what really happened. That's not true. And the truth is that they deported these illegal mothers, and the children, or the mothers, wanted to take the children with them, so the children went with them. But they could come back to the United States if they had a father or somebody. In other words, the children could stay very easily if they wanted to. Now, Tom's telling the truth. But here's my question. Why are you debating this with the dishonest media? Why don't you come on honest media and make your case and let the honest media stand with them and just ignore all the clowns?
Yeah, well, if he came on with us, the national media would be blasting him for being on with these right-wing.
That'd be fantastic. And then you just simply point to our interview and say the truth is here. The clowns are dismissed.
Yeah, either way, it's a lose-lose situation for Trump.
Yeah, but one way makes us popular and the enemy's not popular. The other way makes the enemies popular and us sidelined. Okay.
Yeah,
the other difference is if Tom Holman came on there, hey, if you say, Sam, you're not popular enough, you're not important enough, fine. Do it with Glenn Beck. Do it with Joe Rogan. Do it with Bill O'Reilly. Pick somebody that would at least be honest, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now they say this: the sanctuary jurisdictions that refuse to amend or roll back their policies could face federal funding cuts and criminal or civil lawsuits. That's based on President Trump on Monday signing an executive order against sanctuary cities. That's the latest move against the White House. I mean, the latest move that the White House has done.
Right,
against these sanctuary cities. Okay, here's my question, though. Why are we doing this 100 days in? Why aren't a lot of these clowns already arrested and in the clink?
Yeah, that'd be something to have some criminal investigations against the real criminals in America.
100 days later, we're just going to send out an executive order going, we're going to come after you.
Investigate.
Why are these clowns already in prison?
Yeah, they're doing it to a judge. They arrested the judge.
And you say, well, we need to investigate it, Sam. And my response is they investigate us while we're in prison.
Yeah.
Don't they?
Well, but they need to investigate.
They put Stuart Rhodes in prison, and then they started investigating all that he had done, right?
Well, no, there was some investigation beforehand, but it was still not handled correctly. None of it was. So yes, I'll give you that. It was.
I mean, there wasn't due process down the line.
No, and now Stewart told me something different than one of the other guys that had been in J6 prisons. One of them told me, and we've already had him on, so I won't say his name, but he told me about the deplorable conditions and really close to torturous things about the food and not having sunlight and being able to go outside and being in solitary confinement. And Stewart said, no, the conditions weren't that bad. So,
and I don't know what the truth is. Somebody should investigate that. But at the end of the day, maybe they were treated differently too.
Both be right. They would both be right.
That's right. But what I'm saying is, why 100 days in are we signing an executive order, which is really unconstitutional, to threaten these, sanctuary cities? Why didn't we do something about it before? And why hasn't Congress put something in place? And all I'm saying is, no offense, 100 days in, we're going to look into this. Is a day late. It's just rhetoric. It isn't real.
But because it is rhetoric and it's just a threat, it's not an unconstitutional order.
Well,
he can use the bully pulpit to do those, but he should be telling Pam Bondi, now that would be legal for him to do, order Pam Bondi to investigate every sanctuary city about aiding and abetting criminals and terrorists.
Well, he should have done that day one. But anyway, I digress. But see, where's Congress, though? Isn't Congress responsible for immigration?
Largely, yes.
Well, they haven't done a single thing, have they, that I can see?
He's in charge of enforcing the law.
What's the law? And if the law's being violated, where's the arrest?
Introducing PrepStartsNow.com, your ultimate guide to readiness and peace of mind. We offer practical preparedness tools, training, and education to take your family's household readiness to the next level. Browse the prep shop for essential products, check out our planning guides, and stay informed with our prep blog. Visit PrepStartsNow.com and subscribe to our emails for exclusive offers, new products, and future events. Remember, preparedness begins with PrepStartsNow.com.
Former Sheriff Richard Mack recounts in his book The Proper Role of Law Enforcement how he came to realize while working as a beat cop how wrong the all-too-common orientation of police officers is when they think of their job as being to write tickets and arrest people. Richard Mack tells of his personal transformation from by-the-number cop to Constitution-conscious defender of citizen safety and freedoms. Learn what it really means to serve and protect. Purchase your copy at CSPOA.org. That's CSPOA.org.
Cybercrime is exploding. Take Sarah from Sweet Delights, whose world crumbled after having to close with not being able to bounce back. Small businesses are prime targets, but the right strategies can keep yours safe. Jay Hill, CEO of Network Providers, has co-authored The Cyber Playbook Simplifies Cybersecurity for Business Owners with Strategies to avoid costly breaches and fines. Build a strong cyber attack response. Secure your business with key protections. Cyber threats aren't slowing down, but you can stay ahead. Protect your business. Ensure its security for tomorrow. Get the Cyber Playbook today at networkprovidersinc.com/cyber-playbook or call 385-446-5500 now.
So I don't really get it. Why aren't these people arrested? If they're violating laws in sanctuary cities, why have the laws on the books? I don't know that it takes over 100 days to arrest them, does it, Sheriff?
Well, it takes time to do an investigation, and you can't do an arrest without the investigation. But priority-wise, that was not high on the priority list or his promises during the campaign, and securing our border and securing our country was, and that's really where they are focusing. And so
securing our country from these criminals that have sanctuary cities, you mean, or from the gangs?
Well, yeah,
or from who? Yeah. Right? Like, who's the worst enemy? The ones protecting the gangs,
the ones
seem
that brought
to be even
them
worse
in,
than the gangs, right?
Correct.
But hey, we haven't arrested anybody really.
No. As far as the first one being the judges that are doing this stupid stuff, but so now 2 judges have been arrested.
Yeah, but what about mayors? What about sanctuary city leaders that are thumbing their nose at the law?
Yes, absolutely.
But nothing's happened.
Yeah, no.
It's like lock up Hillary. Nothing happened. All right, let's move to the next kind of topic, but related. Arrested. Yes, indeed. Arrested in connection with theft based on Kristi Noem's purse getting stolen. Prosecutor says both people who stole the purse are in the country illegally. So my question is, why are we arresting them? Why aren't we deporting them?
No, I don't think that's a problem at all.
Why not? Shouldn't they be deported?
Yeah, right after they go get arraigned and get take a plea or whatever else. Yeah, I want the charge to be done before they leave. Yeah, absolutely. Complete the arrest, complete the charges, And if they have to spend a little time in jail and then deporting, yeah, do it.
We're debating if they're even illegal. The prosecutor says so, but others are saying we don't have documentation proving they're even illegal.
Well, that can be obtained because you have to have some sort of identification with you. But go for it. But no, I don't say just get them out. Charge them, put them in jail, send that message to everyone else. You commit a crime, you're going to jail, and then we'll deport you. I prefer that.
All right. I prefer prosecuting them to the fullest extent of the law and putting those charges on file, but I don't know about spending time in jail at my expense. Deport those suckers.
Well,
make it happen. How long will it take? 10 years?
Well, you could say that about every person that goes to jail. It is at our expense. No question about it.
But at least if the United States people, then if they're in jail, at least it's, as opposed to illegals that should be, sent somewhere else. Anyway,
Well,
I find that interesting.
I want all the illegals to know if you commit a crime here, you'll do the time. Same with any other citizen or whoever they are.
So where will you do the time is the question. Will you be deported or do the time in the United States jail?
I don't care. Send them to El Salvador. I don't care.
All right. There you have it. There's the debate. Now, the tariffs have been a big boondoggle for the president, not because the tariffs aren't legitimate. Trump's right, 100%. It's the management of the discussion of this that's gone off the rails. When Trump says, hey, I rule the country and rule the world, and then he has these massive tariffs, it doesn't go well. So on TikTok now, China's running all kinds of ads basically pointing to Donald Trump being a dictator. Well, Trump's the one that enabled TikTok to continue, even though now it's being used against Trump. This is kind of my point. So the headline says this: Senator Rand Paul says he's got the vote to block Donald Trump's Liberation Day tariffs. White House fires back and threatens a veto. And so now you got basically Trump and Rand Paul in a big old showdown. We're wasting time, Sheriff. The enemies in the deep state love this.
Yeah, they do. And so do we blame Trump or do we blame Rand Paul?
What we really do is we bring Rand Paul, who seems to love the liberal media too. And what we need to do is bring Rand Paul and Donald Trump to the table and have long-form discussions with conservative media leaders to bring truth to power. So Rand's right. Trump, you don't control the tariffs. That's a congressional responsibility. Now, if you want to say and you want to articulate and you want to lay out the problem and the solution to the American people, by all means, President Trump. But Congress is responsible for the tariffs here, not Trump. And so we've got to just lay out the checks and balances, lay out the truth. Why isn't the Congress going along with Trump's tariffs? Because they're crazy, they're extreme, they're all over the map. No one knows. I mean, it's a moral hazard. No one knows where we stand. Right? I mean, I literally consult for businesses that are daily spending hours trying to negotiate so they can be compliant with Trump's tariffs, wasting hours of company time. Okay, well, Rand Paul's saying, I support tariffs, but I don't support the way we're going about them, so we're going to stop you, Donald. And Rand Paul's right. Trump's right that tariffs are the way to raise money. We need to get rid of the IRS and promote the ERS. He's right. But so far, I see that we've just cranked up the tariffs, but we haven't given the American people any relief. Congress is derelict in their duty, and the president doesn't have any authority, right?
Well, he's not in charge of tariffs because tariffs are in Article 1, Section 8, which is the Article 1 is for the legislative branch.
Is he in charge of taxes?
No.
Congress is.
Correct.
So in my mind, if President Trump is at the congressional gate every day saying, guys, we need to work on this, let's get the IRS shut down and the ERS cranked up, I get it. But now you've got two people that are on opposite sides of Trump for different issues. Thomas Massie and Rand Paul, both from Kentucky, both, in my opinion, correct as all get out. But see, now Trump wants to get rid of Massie, and now he's going to pretty soon want to get rid of Rand Paul.
And both Massie and Rand Paul did nothing to help a constituent of theirs by the name of Sam Girard, who was illegally put in prison as an Amish farmer because he didn't get permission from the FDA. They did nothing.
Right.
And so when I sat down with Tom Massey's wife, I thought we had something going to really help Sam Girard. Massey did nothing. Rand Paul did nothing, and they spout the Constitution and they spout freedom and justice, and this is one of the biggest injustices in American history, and yet now we're supposed to be really concerned about that they don't believe in tariffs and the president doesn't have power. Well, they had the power to take care of this innocent person, so they did nothing.
I agree 100%. So I always look at every issue and say right's right and wrong's wrong. And when it comes to the tariffs, hey, you know what? Rand Paul's right. Trump's wrong. When it comes to some of these issues that Thomas Massey's talking about, Massey's right. Trump's wrong. Massey didn't vote for the big, beautiful bill expenditure. He voted against it, and Donald went after him for it.
Yeah, and I'm still waiting for this whole thing to say we've got to stop spending so much, and that's Republicans and Democrats alike.
And the president supports that 100% on the surface, but in the end of the day, President Trump just signed a huge spending bill that didn't cut anything.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, and you know, bad habits are hard to break, I guess, but that's got to happen. So.
Amen. All right. And the point that I'm getting at is the deep state has managed to divide the conservatives on all kinds of fault lines. And the deep state started quietly when they got slam-basted in the polls and in the election by Trump. But now they're starting to rear their head, and they're starting to basically take on Trump, and they're starting to be very successful in doing so. And now the deep state has the conservatives divided. Now Trump's going to spend his time going after Massey and Rand Paul, of all people. And now most of the executive orders are going to be sidelined due to the courts or due to congressional
But wait a minute,
inaction.
wait.
Yeah?
I put some of this on Rand too. Did Rand reach out to the president and say, hey, we need to sit down and talk? Or is he just going and attacking in the press?
Well, who knows?
Yeah, we don't. And I doubt it.
But what we know is Congress is responsible for tariffs. And Rand Paul is basically publicly saying, I have the votes to block Trump's Liberation Day tariffs.
But I would like to see him work with Trump instead of making himself.
How do you work with Trump? I'd like to work with him. I've been trying since 2016 to work with Trump, and I can't even possibly get to somebody who even is close enough to Trump to even let him know what I have to say.
Well, I tried to work with Congress too, and I even walked door to door going to their offices, and boy, did I learn a lot.
Trump's got time for Mika Krasinski or Morning Joe, or he's got time for.
Yeah, but we can't make this part that that.
No, we can't make it about. We can't make it about us, but we can make it to where he has a lot more time for the liberals and the mainstream press than he does for the conservatives and the new media taking center stage.
Has Massey reached out to him? Has the one that should be reaching out to him is Mike Johnson?
Couldn't agree more. But Mike Johnson says he's doing the bidding of the president, carrying forward President Trump's initiatives. In my humble opinion, he's doing nothing but slow walking the whole thing.
No, but he's only a few hundred feet away from the president. He is one of the top senators in the country, and he should be reaching out to Trump.
Who should? Rand Paul?
Yes, of course.
Couldn't agree more. Don't know if he is or not, though, and don't know how I can know.
I want him to fight it out in the Oval Office, which he very well should be doing and trying.
Well, if you had Liberty Roundtable Live and they were willing to come to us, we could put Rand Paul on, and we could put Donald Trump on, and I could play the moderator, and we could dig into that baby.
Yeah,
but no, we can't do that. You want to know why? We're too busy with three main news networks that have 92% hate the Donald record, right? We have literally Donald Trump spending his time with the Atlantic newspaper so they can go ahead and betray him, right? I'd like to hear when he says, I run the country and I run the world, I'd like to hear the context of that, because it probably isn't as bad as their headline makes it sound either.
Oh, yeah, probably
So
not.
I'm not telling you that Trump's a failure. What I'm telling you is he's being drowned by the deep state, folks. And all checks and balances are responsible. Hang tight. Violence discussions coming up.